I'm joined by political economist Stephen Barber from London South Bank University. Thank you very much for joining us here. Very interesting what he said there, and it really does seem that a consensus has been reached, because we had talk yesterday about France not agreeing to various capital rules that they want to impose, but a consensus has been reached at the G20 Finance meeting.
And I think we have to be a little bit careful about the rhetoric. I mean, if you remember before the G20 meeting in April, President Sarkozy had said, well, you know, he was going to walk out if he didn't immediately get the sort of agreement that he wanted, and actually he cooperated with the meeting. And I guess a similar thing's happened here. We've had two big issues. One is the continuing of the sort of fiscal measures, and the second is about bank bonuses, which last night, in particular, the French delegation made quite a fuss about in terms of a cap on bonuses, and that's certainly been dropped as part of this communique.
Why is Tim Geithner in the US in particular pushing so hard for this new standard of capital for banks, and what Alistair Darling was talking about, a living will, so if banks go under, they have a buffer? Why is that so important to the Americans?
Well, I think while we look at some of these measures and the headlines come out being about remuneration and bank bonuses, and part of that is I think some politicians have seen that bankers are more unpopular than them, and it's quite an easy sort of target. Actually, the substance of this really is about how banks operate, how banks and other financial institutions take risks and operate in the global financial markets and global economy. And I mean, if we look at, and this is presumably the Washington position, if you look at what caused this global economic crisis, it wasn't actually people being paid too much. It was the sort of global imbalances and excessive risk-taking.
And also the US Treasury Secretary spoke about the financial system showing signs of repair, that growth is underway. Do you think that's a rather optimistic view?
Well, I mean, what a difference a few months make. I mean, if we go back to the last time I was here talking about the G20, we were in the midst of global economic crisis. You know, we had a global recession. Now here, a few months on, we can look around the world, and China now has pretty strong growth, so does the China-led Asian economies. We now look to Europe, and both France and Germany are showing tentative signs of growth. So if you're in those countries, you're probably feeling a little bit more comfortable. But sure, you know, this could be a double-dip recession, and what's clear is that if we had a double-dip recession, there's not those kind of reserves to repeat this exercise, this huge fiscal stimulus that we've seen over the last few months. So you can understand why Tim Geithner and Alistair Darling are saying, you know, let's be a bit cautious about this. We're cautiously optimistic, but let's not stop yet.
OK, well, we have to wait and see what happens next. Stephen Barber from London South Bank University, thank you very much for your analysis.